I didn't notice the music at first. I noticed the silence inside my chest. Because the second I stepped into that lobby, marble under my heels, warm light spilling from chandeliers like melted gold, I saw my face staring back at me from a wall I had no business being on. Not a casual photo. Framed portrait. Professional. Polished. Too clean for the way my hands were shaking. Under it, a small metal plaque caught the light. Maya Reyes. Growth and Revenue Strategy Partner. I blinked like the words might change if I looked again. They didn't. My name sat there like a verdict. Like a crown. Like a punch. A staff member in a crisp black suit walked up with a practiced smile. Ms. Reyes. We're ready for you. My throat tightened. Ready for what? He glanced at the wall like it was the most normal thing in the world. The unveiling. Mr. Ashford would like you near the gallery for the announcement. Ashford. My stomach sank a little deeper. 'Cause everyone knew that name. Ashford Hotels and Residences. The kind of family people whisper about like it's royalty. The kind of people my parents used to point at in magazines and sigh like money was a religion and they were the gods. And now I was here. Not as someone's plus one. Not as background. I was literally on the wall. I should have felt proud. I did. Little. But pride isn't the first thing you feel when you've spent your whole life being treated like you take up too much space. I stepped closer to the frame, just enough to see the tiny details. The perfect lighting, the sharp suit collar, the calm expression I didn't remember wearing. Whoever took that photo didn't capture my fear. They captured my result. The lobby buzzed softly around me. Crystal glasses clinked. Cameras clicked. People laughed the kind of laugh that says, I belong here. And then, I heard my mother. Oh my God! She breathed from behind me, voice full of that polite, trembling awe. Ethan, look at this place. My spine went cold. I didn't turn fully. I didn't have to. I knew their footsteps. I knew the rhythm of their confidence when they wanted to look important. I knew the way my father's voice got louder in rooms like this. Like volume could buy him a seat at the table. My parents walked in first. Then my brother Adrian, clean suit, clean smile, perfect posture. And beside him, the woman everyone was there for. Celeste Ashford. The ring. There. The headline. They were talking, laughing, soaking up the room. They still hadn't seen me. They hadn't seen the frame either. Not yet. A soft chime rang out, and conversations started dying down. Someone tapped a microphone. People drifted toward the gallery wall like gravity changed in the room. A woman in a silver gown stepped forward. Elegant, controlled, the kind of presence that makes you stand straighter without meaning to. Tonight, she said, voice warm and sharp at the same time, we honor the people who held this company up when it was about to fall. My breath caught. She lifted her hand and pointed, right at my face on the wall. And this, she said, is the person who changed everything. My parents turned. Adrian turned. Celeste turned. My father's expression froze halfway between confusion and pride, and then cracked into something uglier when he read the plaque. His eyes found mine. His mouth opened, and a man's calm voice sliced through the hush like ice. You never mentioned, he said slowly, staring at them, that your daughter is our Maya. My stomach dropped. Because in that moment I knew. This wasn't going to be a celebration. This was going to be a public unraveling. And my family had no idea what they were about to lose control of. People think moments like that make you feel powerful. Like you should stand taller. Male. Own it. But standing there in that lobby, with my face framed in gold and my father staring at me like I'd committed a crime, I didn't feel powerful. Felt 8 years old again. 'Cause I've been here before. Not in a resort. Not under chandeliers. But in that exact emotional place where your existence becomes an inconvenience to someone else's image. Growing up, my parents didn't call me difficult. They used nicer words. Sensitive. Intense. Too direct. Which was funny because I wasn't trying to be anything. I was just honest. When I was a kid, I asked questions the way other kids asked for candy. Why are we acting like we're fine when mom is exhausted? Why does dad talk about being successful, but flinch every time the phone rings? Why do we smile so hard in public and fight so quietly at home? And every time I asked, I watched something tighten in my father's face, like my words were messing up a performance. "Stop," he'd snap. Or worse, he'd laugh in front of relatives like I was a quirky little problem. Like I didn't understand grown-up life. My mother tried to smooth it over. She always did. She'd touch my shoulder and whisper, "Not now, Maya. Just not now. Not now. Not here. Not like that. Basically, not you." My brother Adrian learned the rules early. He was charm wrapped in good timing. He could read a room and give it exactly what it wanted. He'd say the right thing at the right moment, laugh at the right jokes, compliment the right people. And my parents ate it up because Adrian made them look like the kind of family they wanted to be. Then there was me. I once spilled a drink at a family dinner. Barely a splash, and my father acted like I'd set the table on fire. He grabbed my wrist under the table so hard I felt it the next day. "This is why you don't belong in places like this," he hissed through his teeth, smile still fixed for everyone else. And I remember thinking even back then, places like what? A table, a room, family. That night did something to me. Something quiet but permanent. I stopped trying to be easy. I stopped begging to be chosen. And I found the one thing that never asked me to perform. Numbers. Numbers didn't care if I was awkward. They didn't care if my voice shook. They didn't care if I didn't fit into a neat little box. Numbers just told the truth. In high school, while other people were chasing popularity, I was chasing patterns. I'd sit up late running little experiments, tracking clicks, testing simple headlines, figuring out why people chose one thing over another. In college, I wasn't the loudest person in the room. But I was the one who could look at chaos and hear what it was trying to say. And somewhere along the way, I realized something that scared me and thrilled me at the same time. I didn't need my family's approval to build a life. So I built one anyway. Quietly. I started taking small clients. Then bigger ones. Hotels, boutique properties, brands that were bleeding money but still trying to smile for the world. I learned how to rescue broken systems without anyone clapping for me. And for a while that was fine. Safer even. Because being unseen meant no one could judge me. No one could edit me. No one could say I didn't belong. But then a message hit my inbox. Simple subject line, no fluff. "We're in trouble. We've been told you're the one who can fix it." I stared at it too long, heartbeat tapping against my ribs. Because the sender wasn't a small business. It was an Ashford executive. And the attachment inside that email wasn't just data. He sounded relieved, like he'd just survived something. "Thank you," he said quickly. "We'll do something later, just us. I promise." I didn't argue. I didn't beg. I didn't ask him to reconsider. Because I've learned something about people who erase you. They don't stop because you cry. They stop when your life becomes undeniable. That night, I drove to my parents' house not to fight, just to see if they'd say it to my face. I walked in, and I heard them in the kitchen before they saw me. My mother's voice. "She doesn't fit in those spaces." My father's voice sharp. "She'll humiliate us." I froze, keys still in my hand. Humiliate. Like my existence is shame. I stepped back out quietly like I'd never been there. And when I got home, my laptop was still open. Ashford dashboards. Live data. Real numbers. Real work. The empire my family was desperate to be near. Was the same empire I'd been holding up in silence. Then my inbox pinged. Grant Ashford again. Subject line. "We're unveiling the gallery at the New Year's Gala. Your frame is ready." My throat went dry. Because the gala Adrian disinvited me from? It wasn't just his engagement party. It was the night my name would be revealed on a wall in front of the exact people who'd spent years calling me embarrassing. And suddenly, New Year's Eve wasn't a celebration. It was a countdown. And my family had no idea what was about to explode at 0. I booked the flight the way you book something you're not supposed to want. Quick, quiet, heart racing. Then I stared at the confirmation email like it might bite me. Because going to that gala wasn't just showing up. Not for me. It was stepping into the exact kind of room my parents used as proof of worth. The kind of room they'd spent my whole life telling me I didn't belong in. And the worst part, they weren't even going to look me in the eye while they said it. I opened Grant Ashford's email again. We're unveiling the gallery at the New Year's Gala. Your frame is ready. Frame. Ready. My name, etched in metal, sitting under warm lights while my family pretended I didn't exist. I should have felt furious. I did. But underneath the anger was something else. Something quieter. Fear. Not of the Ashfords. Not of the crowd. Fear of being seen. And then punished for it the way I always had been. My phone buzzed. A group text from my mom. Photo of tuck swatches. Gold. Black. Deep navy. Mom. Which one looks most elegant on Adrian? No, hi. No, how are you? No, we should talk. Just help us look perfect. I stared at the message until my screen dimmed. Then I typed 2 words. Me. Navy. Classic. A second later. Mom. Perfect. Thank you, yellow heart. That heart emoji made something inside me twist. Like she thought we were fine. Like she thought I'd just keep doing this forever. Supporting their image from a distance while they kept me out of the picture. I opened my laptop. The Ashford dashboards were still up. Occupancy up 12%. Cancellation rate down. Revenue per available room climbing like it had finally found oxygen. And tucked in a smaller report, a line that made my throat tighten. Proposed staff layoffs. Postponed. Not cancelled. Not erased. Just postponed. Because numbers were improving. Because something I built was holding people's jobs in place. I leaned back in my chair, and I let myself feel it for 1 second. Not pride like a trophy. Pride like a bruise you touch and realize you survived the thing that caused it. Then my inbox pinged again. Grant. We'd like you near the gallery wall before the speech. Also, press will be present. We'll keep it tasteful, but we want credit where it's due. Press. My stomach dropped. That was new. That meant this wasn't staying behind the scenes. This meant my face, my name, my life. Becoming public in the loudest possible way. I didn't reply right away. I got up and walked to the mirror in my apartment, still wearing sweatpants, hair a mess, eyes tired. I looked like the version of me my parents tried to hide. The version they called awkward, too much, wrong for the room. I stared at my reflection and whispered, like I was talking to someone younger. You're not wrong for the room. My voice shook. I hated that it shook. But I said it again. You're not wrong for the room. Then I went back to my laptop and typed. Understood. I'll be there. And I hit send before my fear could negotiate. The next day, I bought a dress I didn't need permission to wear. Not something that screamed for attention. Something that fit. Something that felt like me. I packed like I was leaving for a war I wasn't allowed to call a war. Plane ticket. Laptop. Chargers. A pair of heels I could actually walk in. My business cards, still weird to think I had those. In the airport, I saw couples in matching outfits taking selfies. Families laughing like belonging was automatic. Like it didn't have to be earned. On the plane I didn't sleep. I kept thinking about the moment my father said, "She'll humiliate us." And how the truth was. He had it backward. The only humiliation was how hard they'd worked to make me invisible. San Diego hit me with salt air and expensive calm. The resort was even more ridiculous in person. Glass, marble, ocean views, staff who moved like they were choreographed. At check-in, the concierge smiled at me. "Welcome, Ms. Reyes. We've been expecting you." That sentence did something to me. A tiny crack in the old story. In my family, I was an inconvenience. Here I was expected. I rode the elevator up. Badge clipped inside my purse like it was contraband. My hands were sweating. My heart kept doing that stupid thing where it tries to climb out of your ribs. Halfway to my floor, the elevator stopped. The doors opened. And in walked Adrian. Tux on. Hair perfect. That same clean smile. Until his eyes landed on me. His face changed so fast it almost didn't feel real. Shock first. Then confusion. then something sharper. Like panic. He looked down at my purse, at the edge of a lanyard peeking out, and his voice came out low, tight, disbelieving. Maya, what are you doing here? The doors slid shut behind him. And suddenly it was just the two of us in a silent elevator, rising toward a party I wasn't supposed to exist in. While my name, my real name, was already waiting downstairs on a wall in gold. The air in that elevator felt too thin to breathe. Adrian stood beside me like a stranger wearing my brother's face. Tucks sharp, jaw tight, eyes darting between me and the little strip of lanyard peeking out of my purse like it was evidence. Maya, what are you doing here? He repeated, slower this time, like the words might land harder if he said them carefully. I didn't answer right away. Because the truth was, I didn't even know how to say it without watching his ego shatter. So I kept my voice calm. I'm invited. He let out a sharp little laugh that wasn't amusement. It was panic wearing a smile. Invited by who? The elevator hummed upward. The numbers above the door climbed like a countdown. By the Ashfords, I said. His face twitched. No, that doesn't make sense. It makes perfect sense, I said, and my throat tightened anyway. You just don't know my life. His eyes narrowed. Are you here to make a point? That question, it hit me wrong. Like he couldn't imagine I had a reason to exist that wasn't connected to him. I shifted my purse higher on my shoulder. I'm here because I earned it. The elevator dinged. The doors opened. Adrian stepped out first, moving fast like he needed space from the truth. Then he spun back toward me, voice low and urgent. Listen, he said, eyes flashing. Whatever you're planning, don't. This is Vivian's family. This is my future. Don't embarrass us. Embarrass. There it was again. Like my entire identity was a stain they were terrified would show under the light. I looked at him, really looked, and something in me went still. I'm not planning anything, I said quietly. But I'm also not disappearing because you're scared. His jaw clenched. Maya. I stepped past him. Enjoy your night. I left him there, standing in the hallway like a man who just realized the story he's been telling everyone doesn't match reality. Downstairs, the lobby was already full. Salt air drifting in from the ocean. Crystal glasses catching warm light. Conversations soft and expensive. Cameras everywhere. And then I saw it. The turnaround gallery. That wall of framed victories. Gold frames. Clean plaques. A curated museum of survival. My frame sat near the center, lit like the building itself was proud of it. Maya Reyes. Growth and revenue strategy partner. I stood there for a second, not moving because it felt unreal. Like someone had taken the version of me my family tried to shrink, and hung her up in public like proof. A staff member approached with that smooth, practiced respect. Ms. Reyes. Mr. Ashford would like you positioned near your frame before the remarks. My frame, I echoed. He smiled. Yes, ma'am. Not Adrian's sister. Not the awkward one. Just me. I moved to where they guided me, and the farther I walked, the more my nerves turned into something sharper. Resolve. Then I heard my mother's voice again. Close now, drifting through the crowd. Oh my God, Ethan, she breathed. This is insane. My father's laugh. Loud. Performative. The sound he uses when he wants people to believe he belongs. And then, the click of Adrian's voice, smooth as sugar. They're incredible people, he said, and I could practically hear him smiling at Celeste beside him. We're honored. I turned just enough to see them. My parents. My brother. Celeste Ashford beside him, flawless and radiant. And for a heartbeat, none of them noticed me. They were too busy absorbing the room, breathing it in like it was oxygen. Then my mother's eyes slid toward the gallery wall. She saw the frames first, not understanding. My father followed her gaze, posture straightening, already preparing a compliment, already rehearsing how to sound impressed. Adrian glanced up casually, until his eyes landed on my photo. His whole face dropped. His smile died. My mother's mouth opened like she couldn't find sound. My father's expression froze in confusion, then shifted into something pale and ugly when he read the plaque. And right then a soft chime rang out. The room began to hush. A woman stepped forward toward the microphone. Elegant, controlled, the kind of presence that makes even rich people stop talking. Grant Ashford. He didn't smile at first. He just looked out over the crowd like he was choosing his words carefully. "Tonight," he began, voice steady, "we celebrate what it means to survive a storm without losing who you are." My heart pounded. Grant gestured toward the gallery wall. "Some people think a turnaround is just numbers," he said. "But those numbers mean jobs kept, families fed, lives stabilized." Then his gaze landed on my frame. "And this," he continued, voice sharpening, "is the person who stopped our collapse." He pointed directly at my face on the wall. "Maya Reyes." A ripple went through the crowd. People turned, whispered. My parents looked like they'd been struck. Adrian's eyes were locked on me, wide, furious, terrified. Grant's voice cut through the silence, calm as ice. "I have one question," he said, looking straight at my father. "You never mentioned that your daughter is our Maya." The room went dead quiet. And before my father could even pretend to speak, my mother's hand reached for his arm like she needed something solid to hold onto. Because in that exact moment, I saw it on their faces. Not pride, not joy, fear. The kind of fear people feel when their private cruelty is about to become public. And then Grant leaned closer to the mic and added one more sentence. Soft, dangerous, final. "And if you tried to keep her out of this room," he said, eyes still on my father, "I'd really love to hear why." My stomach dropped. Because now it wasn't just my truth hanging on the wall. It was theirs. My father didn't answer Grant Ashford. He couldn't. His mouth opened but no sound came out, like his pride finally met a wall it couldn't push through. And in that silence, I felt something strange. Relief. Not because I wanted to watch him struggle, but because for the first time in my life, he couldn't rewrite me. The room had already seen the plaque. Already seen my face framed in gold. Already heard my name spoken like it mattered. Grant didn't rush. He let the quiet stretch, heavy and unforgiving. My mother finally stepped in, voice trembling with that polite panic she saves for public disasters. "Oh, Grant," she laughed too softly. "We're just shocked. We didn't realize Maya's work was work." Grant cut in, not loud but sharp enough to slice. "She didn't work. She saved us." Heads turned. Whispers spread. The crowd leaned in without leaning in. And then my brother stepped forward like he could control the story if he spoke first. "Maya," Adrian hissed, eyes burning. "Why didn't you tell us you were working with them?" I looked at him. And I swear, in that moment I didn't even feel angry anymore. Felt clarity. "You didn't ask," I said. His jaw tightened. "Don't do that." "Don't do what?" I asked calmly. "Answer honestly." Vivian, Celeste, stood beside him, face tight with confusion. Her eyes flicked from my plaque to my parents to me, like she was recalculating what kind of family she was marrying into. My father finally found his voice, low and controlled. "This isn't the time." Grant's eyes narrowed. "Funny," he said. "You seem comfortable speaking for her when you're dismissing her." My mother's hand shook as she reached for a glass. "We just didn't want Maya overwhelmed," she said. "These events can be intense. Intense. Like I was fragile. Like I was the problem." I took a slow breath. My voice came out quieter than I expected, but it carried. "You told people I'd humiliate you." My mother's smile froze. My father's eyes flashed like warning lights. Adrian's face went pale. And there it was, again. My truth standing in a room where my family never wanted it to stand. Grant didn't look away. "Is that true?" he asked directly at my father. My father tried to laugh, but it came out stiff. "People misunderstand. We were just trying to protect." "Protect who?" Grant asked. And suddenly the crowd wasn't watching me. They were watching them. My brother's hands clenched at his sides. Maya, please, he whispered, voice tight, desperate. Can we not do this here? Not here. Not now. Not like that. The same sentence, different suit. I stared at him and I felt something crack inside me, not in a painful way. In a freeing way. Where then? I asked quietly. In the car, where you can tell me to be smaller again. In the kitchen, where Mom can whisper not now. In the house, where Dad can call me embarrassing and nobody hears. Adrian flinched like I'd slapped him. Vivian's eyes sharpened. Adrian, she said slowly. What is she talking about? He didn't answer fast enough. Because he couldn't. Not without admitting the truth. And my father did what he always does when he loses control. He tried to move it behind closed doors. He leaned in close to me, teeth clenched, smile still plastered for the crowd. Maya, he whispered, we'll discuss this later. You are not going to make a scene. I met his eyes. I'm not making a scene, I whispered back. You did. Years ago. I'm just finally refusing to clean it up. That's when Grant stepped in, voice low, firm. Ms. Reyes, he said, we'd like you on stage. My stomach tightened. Microphone. Lights. Public. Every part of me that spent years learning how to disappear screamed at me to run. But then I looked at my parents. Adrian. At the way they were sweating through their perfect image. And I realized something simple. If I walked away now, I'd be doing the same thing I've always done. Making myself small so they can stay comfortable. So I nodded. And I walked toward the stage. Applause started, scattered at first. Then stronger, building into something real. Not polite clapping. Recognition. Grant handed me the mic. The ballroom lights hit my face. And right before I spoke, I saw Vivian step forward through the crowd. Eyes locked on me. Not angry. Not jealous. Curious. Like she was about to ask the one question that could either save this family or destroy it. She reached the front row and mouthed silently. Why did you hide? My throat went dry. Because that question wasn't really for me. It was for the version of me that learned survival through silence. And I had no idea what would happen if I finally answered out loud. I almost dropped the microphone. Not because it was heavy. 'Cause my truth was. The ballroom was so quiet I could hear the soft hum of the speakers, the faint clink of someone setting down a glass too slowly, the tiny cough people make when they're trying to pretend they're not nervous. Grant Ashford stood a step behind me, calm, solid. Like a wall. My parents were near the front, frozen in that specific horror of being exposed in a room they wanted to impress. Adrian's face was tight, like he was holding his breath to keep his life from cracking. And Vivian, Celeste, was right there, eyes steady on mine. She didn't look amused. She looked awake. I swallowed hard and leaned slightly into the mic. Hi, I said. My voice sounded too small in that room. So I tried again, slower. Hi. I'm Maya. A few people smiled politely, but it wasn't that kind of moment. Nobody was here for politeness anymore. I let the silence sit for a second. Then I said the first true thing that came to me. I didn't plan to be on that wall. Soft laughter rippled through the crowd. Nervous, surprised. Like they didn't expect the person in the frame to sound human. I work best when nobody is watching, I continued. Because when people watch, they bring expectations. They bring assumptions. They decide who you are before you even open your mouth. My gaze flicked to my father without meaning to. He didn't blink. Kept my voice steady. Grant asked why I didn't tell my family. Why I hid. My throat tightened around that word. Like I was ashamed. I wasn't ashamed of my work. I was ashamed of what being seen usually cost me. I didn't hide because I wanted to, I said softly. I hid because I was trained to. The air shifted. You know when a room goes from listening to feeling. I grew up in a home where being different wasn't celebrated, I continued. It was managed, polished, quieted. I paused, letting my breath settle. And I learned early that if I wanted love to feel safe, I had to be easy. My mother's eyes glistened. Her lips parted like she wanted to protest, but she didn't. Adrian's jaw flexed. Vivian's expression didn't change, but her eyes sharpened, like she was filing every word away. I forced myself to keep going, even though my hands were shaking. So when Grant's team hired me, it felt normal to keep it separate, I admitted. Normal to do the work quietly, deliver results, and stay off the stage. I gave a tiny, bitter smile. Because in my family, the stage was always reserved for the people who made us look good. That line landed like a slap. Few people sucked in breath. Someone in the back muttered, "Damn." My father's face tightened. Grant's posture stayed calm, but I felt him shift slightly behind me, like he was ready to intervene if anyone tried to interrupt. My voice dropped lower. "And when my brother got engaged, I was told not to come." A ripple shot through the room. Not gossip, not excitement, disbelief. Vivian's head turned sharply toward Adrian. He looked like he wanted the floor to open and swallow him whole. I held the mic closer, voice steady now. I wasn't invited because they were afraid I'd embarrass them. My mother's hands flew to her mouth. My father's eyes flashed, warning. But it was too late. The words were out. And once truth leaves your body, you can't force it back in. I took a breath that tasted like salt and adrenaline. "I want to be clear," I said. "I didn't come here to ruin anyone's night." My eyes met Vivian's. "I came because I was asked to stand beside the work I did." Then I looked over the crowd. People who didn't know me but were still quiet, still listening. "And maybe I came because I'm tired of living like I'm something people have to apologize for." The room stayed silent. Then, slowly, applause started. Not the polite kind. The kind that sounds like respect. Grant leaned forward and whispered, "Keep going." I nodded once. "Ashford didn't just pay me," I said. "They trusted me. They gave me access. They listened when I said uncomfortable things. And because they listened, people kept their jobs." That line hit the staff in the room. I saw it on their faces. A few blinked fast, trying not to cry. I lowered the mic slightly, letting it breathe. "So if you're someone who's been told you're too much," I said, voice softer, "maybe you're not too much. Maybe you're just in the wrong room." I paused, letting the words settle. Then I added, quiet but clear, "And tonight, I realized I'm done standing outside rooms I've earned my way into." The applause came harder. But it wasn't over. Not even close. Because as I stepped back from the mic, Vivian stood up. And she didn't clap. She walked straight toward my parents. Her heels clicked against the marble like a countdown. She stopped in front of my father first, eyes cold and calm. And in a voice low enough to sound private, but loud enough that everyone nearby could hear, she asked the question that made my blood run cold. "So tell me," she said, "what else have you been hiding about your daughter, and why?" My father opened his mouth. And for the first time in my life I thought, he might actually lie. Right here. Right now. In front of everyone. And if he did, I was going to have to decide whether I would finally burn the whole illusion down myself. My father lied the way some people breathe. Smooth. Automatic. Like it was a skill he'd practiced in mirrors. He turned to Vivian with that polished smile, the one he saves for donors and important last names, and said, "We've always been proud of Maya. Always. She's just private." Private. I almost laughed. Because private was the nicest word he could find, for we tried to erase her. Vivian didn't blink. She held his gaze like a blade. "So you're proud," she said slowly. "And yet she wasn't invited to my engagement gala?" My father's smile twitched. "There must be some misunderstanding. Maya has a tendency to take things personally." There it was. A soft public way to call me unstable. I felt heat rise up my neck. Grant shifted behind me, still calm, but I could feel the warning in his posture. Adrian stepped in fast, voice too loud, too quick. "Vivian, babe, this is getting out of hand. Maya's being dramatic. She's always." Vivian turned her head toward him like she'd never seen him clearly before. "Always what?" she asked. Adrian froze. His throat bobbed. His eyes flicked to my parents like he was waiting for them to rescue him. They didn't. Because they couldn't. The wall had already spoken. The plaque didn't care about their excuses. I lifted my chin and said it, calm and clean. There was no misunderstanding. My father's eyes flashed at me. Silent warning, the same old command. Stop. I didn't. Adrian called me, I continued, voice steady even though my hands were trembling. He told me not to come because you all were afraid I'd embarrass you. The nearest circle of guests went quiet again. Not gossip quiet. Truth quiet. My mother whispered. Maya, please. Vivian's gaze snapped to Adrian. Did you say that? Adrian's mouth opened. Nothing came out. That pause was loud. Then he tried the coward's version of honesty. Half-truth softened. I was trying to protect you, he said, eyes pleading. This crowd is brutal. I didn't want you judged. Vivian's face hardened. No, she said. You were trying to protect your image. Grant's voice cut in, cool as ice. And you attempted to do that by excluding the person who saved our business. My father made a small sound, like he was choking on humiliation. Then he leaned toward Vivian, desperate now, and said, We love Maya, but she can be unpredictable. We didn't want to risk. I stepped forward one step. Close enough that he had to look at me, not over me. Say it, I murmured. In the same words you used in the kitchen. His jaw clenched. This is not the place. It's exactly the place, I said softly. Because this is where you wanted me invisible. Vivian looked between us, and something changed in her expression, like she finally understood that this wasn't one bad moment. This was a pattern. Lifestyle. Family culture. She turned to Adrian again. You let them talk about her like that? She asked. Adrian's eyes went glassy. Vivian, But she stepped back like he'd reached for her with dirty hands. I need air, she said, voice tight. Then to my parents, cold, controlled. And I need to rethink what kind of people I'm tying my life to. She walked away from the crowd, heels sharp on marble. Adrian lunged after her, panicked. Vivian, wait. My mother grabbed my arm. Look what you did, she hissed, tears in her eyes. You ruined everything. I looked at her hand on my skin and felt something go calm inside me. No, I said. I revealed it. My father leaned in close, smile still pasted for the room, but his voice was poison. You think you won, he whispered. You think these people will protect you when this turns ugly? I met his eyes, and I realized something terrifying. He wasn't just embarrassed. He was threatened. Because if the room started respecting me, his control over the family story was done. Grant touched my shoulder lightly. Maya, he said under his breath. Come with me. Now. He guided me away toward a private corridor. As we walked, my phone buzzed in my purse. One notification. Then another. Then a third. I pulled it out and saw an email subject line that made my stomach drop straight through the floor. Confidential. Internal review. Immediate call required. My blood went cold. Because only one person in that building wanted to turn my success into a scandal. And I had a feeling my father had just made his first move. That subject line. Confidential. Internal review. Immediate call required. Hit me like a slap. Not because I'd done anything wrong. Because I knew exactly what it meant when people with power start whispering behind closed doors. They don't come for your work first. They come for your credibility. Grant guided me down a quiet corridor away from the ballroom. The music muffled behind us like a heartbeat underwater. Don't panic, he said low. This happens when someone wants to muddy the water. I looked down at my phone again, thumb hovering. Someone, I repeated. Grant didn't answer. He didn't have to. My father had just warned me. You think these people will protect you when this turns ugly. And now the ugly was here, right on schedule. We stepped into a private suite. Clean, cold, corporate calm. 2 people were already inside. Not gala guests. Compliance. Legal. The faces that don't clap. They document. A woman stood and held out her hand. Maya Reyes. I'm Sonia Patel, Internal Ethics and Compliance. I shook her hand. My palm was sweaty. I didn't apologize for it. Sonia nodded toward a chair. Thank you for coming quickly. This will be brief. Grant remained standing behind me, quiet but present. Like he was saying, I'm not letting you do this alone. Sonia opened a folder. An allegation was submitted tonight suggesting you have an undisclosed conflict of interest with an Ashford family event, and that you may have accessed or shared confidential property data improperly. My stomach tightened. Who submitted it? Yes. Sonia didn't blink. I can't disclose that right now. Course. That's how it works. Anonymous Knives. She slid a printed email across the table. I glanced down, and my chest went cold. It was from my father. From Ethan Lawson. Subject: urgent concern, consultant conduct. He'd written in polished, respectable language. The kind of tone he uses when he wants strangers to think he's reasonable. He claimed I was emotionally volatile, that I caused a scene, that I might be using proprietary data for personal leverage. He even tried to make it sound protective. As a parent, I'm concerned. My throat burned. Grant's voice came calm behind me. We checked access logs the moment we received it. Sonia nodded. We did. So far, there is no evidence of improper access or sharing. But we need you to confirm a few things on record. I breathed in slowly. Ask, I said. Sonia's eyes stayed steady. Are you related to Adrian Lawson? Yes, I said. He's my brother. And you did not disclose that connection to Ashford when you were contracted? I didn't, I admitted. Because I didn't know my brother was connected to this family when I started. When I found out, the scope was already active. My work has been conducted under NDA, with full transparency in deliverables. Sonia watched me for a beat. When did you find out? After my brother got engaged, I said. Months after the contract began. Grant stepped forward slightly. And she informed me immediately once the family connection became relevant. My heart flicked at that. Because he didn't have to say it like that. He chose to. Sonia turned another page. Second point. Your father alleged you used confidential performance data to elevate yourself publicly at this event. I let out a soft breath, almost a laugh, because it was so ridiculous it hurt. I never shared numbers, I said. I shared one truth, that I did the work, that I was asked not to attend by my own family. That's not proprietary data. That's my life. Sonia's face didn't change, but her eyes softened just slightly. She leaned forward. Do you have any reason to believe your father submitted this allegation to harm your position here? I stared at the paper again. My father's words. His attempt to make me look unstable. And something in me steadied. Yes, I said simply. He has spent years trying to control how other people see me. Tonight he lost control. Silence. Then Sonia closed the folder. Okay, she said. Here's what happens next. We document your statement. We retain the access logs. Based on what we've seen, the complaint appears retaliatory and unsubstantiated. My lungs finally unlocked. Grant's hand touched my shoulder. Light, professional, human. Sonia looked me in the eye. Maya, I'm going to say this clearly. Your work here is respected. Attempts to discredit you without evidence will not be entertained. My throat tightened again, this time in a different way. Thank you, I managed. Sonia stood. You can return to the event if you choose. Or you can leave. Your choice. My choice. Those two words felt unfamiliar in my body, like clothes that finally fit. When Sonia and Legal left, Grant stayed with me in the quiet. He looked tired, angry too, controlled anger. He tried to sabotage you, Grant said. I nodded, staring at the email in my hands like it was a dead thing. He's terrified. Of what? I swallowed. Of a world where I'm not small. Grant exhaled slowly. Then let's make sure he never gets that power again. We walked back toward the ballroom. But before we entered, Vivian appeared at the end of the corridor. Not flustered, not crying, just sharp. Her eyes went straight to me. Are you okay? I hesitated, then said the truth. My father tried to file a complaint to discredit me. Vivian's face hardened. I knew it. Grant looked between us. What's happening out there? Vivian's jaw tightened. I postponed the engagement announcement. Blinked. Vivian. She cut me off calm and firm. I'm not marrying into a family that punishes a woman for existing loudly. My chest tightened. What did Adrian say? I asked. Vivian's eyes flicked away for a second. He tried to defend them. For about 30 seconds. Then she looked back at me. And then he apologized. Publicly. To you. My heart stuttered. He did. Vivian nodded. He finally said, I was wrong. I let them treat you like a problem. And then he told your parents in front of people who matter to them. I'm done pretending she's the embarrassing one. I didn't know what to do with that. Because part of me had built armor so thick, I forgot what repair sounded like. Vivian stepped closer. I'm not asking you to forgive anyone tonight, she said. But I am telling you this. You're not the shame in this story. I felt my eyes burn. Grant cleared his throat gently. Maya, there's something else. He handed me a folder. Inside was a contract. Clean paper, clean signature line. Director of Growth and Revenue Strategy. Public-facing. Team leadership. Full authority. My hand shook as I held it. Why now? I whispered. Grant's voice was low. Because you didn't just save the company. You stood up for yourself in front of the kind of pressure that breaks people. And you didn't break. I stared at the signature line. And for the first time I didn't think about what my parents would say. I didn't imagine my father's disapproval. I didn't shrink. Picked up the pen. Signed. When I walked back into the ballroom, the wall didn't feel like a threat anymore. Felt like a mirror. My parents were still there. Tight smiles, shaking hands, trying to recover their image. My father looked at me like he didn't recognize the version of me who couldn't be controlled. And maybe he didn't. 'Cause that version was gone. Here's what I learned, and I need you to hear it if you've ever been treated like you're too much. Sometimes the people closest to you will try to keep you small. Not because you're wrong, but because your growth exposes their insecurity. Their comfort is not your responsibility. Their shame is not your identity. And the moment you stop shrinking, the room changes. Not because you got louder, 'cause you got free. Thanks for listening. Don't forget to subscribe, and if you've lived through something similar, share your story in the comments. Your voice matters.